Alrighty, welcome back everyone to the King of the Court. I think episode 4 now. Ben's back this week, so we've got the two of us back again. Been a busy week for both of us, and a busy week in the world of basketball, so a few things to cover off today. Obviously starting up now in the NBA Finals, so the end of the season is coming upon us, so a bit of silly season stuff going with free agency and coaching and the like, so we've got a lot to dive into in the future weeks, but a bit of a quieter one this week. We sort of know where we're heading. Just starting off with the Celtics and the Heat series that just finished up. Exciting. It kept me engaged, I guess, for a few weeks 100%. There. I didn't think at 3-0 that we'd be going to a Game 7, but yeah, these two teams can't win at home, it seems. Obviously, Game 7 win for the Heat, a big win in the end. Just guess your first initial thoughts on that series.
Yeah, Celtics Heat, man. We've had this series. It was last year as well. And last year it was one shot away from the Heat making the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler should have taken the layup. But, it's crazy that a 3-0 series became so competitive at the end there. Honestly, I was looking at it and I was like, 150 times to 0 has a team basically lost a 3-0 deficit. But the Celtics looked like they had a chance there. The whole 100%. Momentum kind of shifted. The whole series changed. And if anything, the Celtics would have been a team to do that because they're the most boom or bust team I've ever seen. They are so cyclical. It is crazy. But, at the end of the day, it was the role players from the Miami Heat showing 100%. Up. Caleb Martin killed it. Awesome series. Yeah. Max Strus as well.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler played, pretty well as well. And they're just all-round team basketball from Miami. All those undrafted guys.
Yeah, 100%. That was a stat in the whole series. So Caleb Martin, all the stats here, 19.3 points, 49% from downtown.
His shooting was crazy.
Caleb Vincent was awesome as well. He had 15.8 points, 49% from the field. And then Duncan Robinson, the guy who, like I said, he's been catching dust on the bench.
Jimmy Neutron.
He's been catching dust on the bench for all season. Yeah. Has come up clutch, 11.4 points at 48.5% from 3 and over 50% from the field. So, like I said, those undrafted guys, those role guys, awesome effort. And you're right, at 3-2, especially after 3-3, and that tip in from Derek White, I was thinking all the momentums with the Celtics, I keep tipping against the Heat, and I'm going to continue to keep tipping against the Heat. But at 3-2 and 3-3, I'm thinking with that dramatic tip in by Derek White, I'm thinking the Celtics at home, Game 7, Boston, the TD Garden, Tatum, all this, and you're like, it has to happen, right? It has to.
Yeah.
But Miami
real possibility.
Get it done. They've been underdogs throughout the whole playoff series, and they keep proving us wrong.
Yeah.
I adore this team. How hard they work for each other. How much effort they put in. Not only, I guess, on the offensive end, these undrafted guys, but Bam's had a great series offensively, but his defensive pressure's been through the roof, right? Mm-hmm. I think it all just stems down to Coach Eric Spoelstra. He's done a great job in these playoffs.
Yeah, he's been I think it's 8 finals or something like that. He's Eric Spoelstra. He knows how to play winning basketball. Yeah. And let's be honest, this team should not be here. They've run into sort of better teams throughout the playoffs. With the 10th seed, they won 2 games in the play-in to make the NBA Finals. This is probably one of the worst performing regular season teams we've ever seen to make the finals. Yeah. And look, we'll see how it goes for them in the playoffs. Yeah. In the finals. But and even again, on the other end of the spectrum, we're looking at what the Celtics did. And they went out sad and sorry in Game 7. Oh, my goodness. Jason Tatum shot terribly from the field. Jaylen Brown, eight turnovers. Yeah. They just kept on pushing Jaylen Brown left and he had no answers for it. Man he's got no dribble moves.
He needs to pin it behind his arm and just dribble it right there.
He's got no bag, bro, in terms of his dribble moves, man. I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan, but he stunk it up. Yeah. And, it's a little interesting thing that I've been thinking about in terms of the NBA, in terms of the playoffs, right? Is each team, you need a player that's like him, that's got that alpha mentality, that's going to do whatever they can to win games, right? 100%. I just don't think Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown are those players. I think Jimmy Butler is. Yeah. And if you base it off talent, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are probably better players than Jimmy Butler.
High ceiling, 100%, yeah.
High ceiling, they can do a lot more. But Jimmy Butler just refuses to lose.
Got that dog in him, doesn't he?
He does. That's what it, I don't know if there's any other ways to slice it. There's just some of those players that refuse to lose. And I think he's one of those guys.
It's funny you mention Jaylen Brown. So first possession of the game, Jason Tatum rolls his ankle, right? Obviously it's going to affect you. Game 7, you could keep pushing on though. But you're thinking with that 1-2 punch, they've got this is Jaylen Brown's time to shine. Give us a 40 piece. Show us something. Just give us something to hold on to. Because obviously without Jason Tatum, there goes 25 points and
sort
of a few assists
losing and winning
as well. But when you got two superstars like that, I feel like the blame has to go on Jaylen Brown in that game. In Game 7, you have to stand up. If you want the bag, he doesn't have any bag, but he wants a bag.
Oh, that's gonna be a big thing as well with this contract.
You got to go out there and show that you got that talent. But you're right, they forced him left and 8 turnovers and in the clutch or sloppy mistakes down the stretch there. I guess on that point, what do you reckon happens now with him? Does he go somewhere else and get a bag, or does he try and take that reduced contract?
This is really interesting. Jaylen Brown has been in a lot of controversy in terms of not even really self-inflicted, but a lot of just throwing him in trade rumors. You know, they didn't want to give him away for Kevin Durant, but they also shopped him in kind of little trade scenarios throughout the season. Yeah. He's been quite critical of the front office and what they've done to him and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a weird one. I think because he's eligible for a huge contract. And from a player that hasn't really improved a lot the last couple of years, and I think other teams could match that quite easily and put him in a situation where he is the guy. You know, whether or not it's a team like, you know, he could end up on Dallas, that would be a fun sort of situation to be in. He could be on Houston, like it could be anything, like any team that has some sort of guys that could give him the ball and let him do what he wants.
Yeah,
and I think if the Celtics give him that much money, it really ties them up with that core they got at the moment, which has been a little bit unsuccessful the last few years in the playoffs. So it's a bit of a high one. But if I was Brad Stevens, I don't know if I'd be pulling the trigger on Jaylen Brown in terms of
If you try and get him on a lesser contract, maybe, because
he can get more money. You know, money talks.
It does, and I think he seems like a guy who's not unfazed about winning in the fact that he doesn't want to win, but he doesn't seem as a guy who's going to get all tied up about losing a Game 7. He's not. I guess Jason Tatum's a bit closer to that, but he seems like a guy that would be fine to walk for the right money.
He's a bit impartial about it, to be 100%. Honest.
And I guess with Dame's name being floated around and potential rumours to go to the Celtics or exchanging a bit of sign and trade sort of stuff, that could be an option, but it's interesting to see where that all lands up. And
we have heard about the Dame and Jaylen Brown swap. That could be kind of interesting, you know. But
it's awkward at the moment because he's there. He probably deserves the money on sort of regular season performances, but in the playoffs and in a clutch moment like Game 7, they just didn't perform at all.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really that he was missing shots. It was more the way that he did it. Like, you're watching him and it just looked sloppy. It just wasn't, you know, just 8 turnovers from a guy that doesn't really dribble the ball that much is actually quite, and doesn't pass that much either. Like his job is basically purely to score.
Put the ball in the basket.
You know, and someone like that shouldn't be getting that many turnovers. Like, if Michael Porter Jr. had 10 turnovers in a game, well, that'd be very concerning. Yeah. Because they're, you know, a similar type of player. They're not the same caliber or whatever, but a similar type of player.
100%. I just you mentioned a bit before Eric Spoelstra. I mentioned before as well. Right now, for me, he's going to be up there, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach a game. Yeah, Phil Jackson's the Popovich of the world. So I've got a few stats here. So took over in 2008. Since then, there's been 12 postseasons in his time there. Only behind Golden State in playoff victories, but we know how good they've been for so many years. He's got 6 conference championships. Obviously, the championships there with LeBron and D Wade, and then he's the top 5 most winningest coach in playoff history. So, with all those being said,
that's my guy.
Do you reckon after at this point in time, or maybe if he wins it this year, he'll go down as the best coach in NBA history?
Well, like, I think that's that's a bit of a hot take. I think for sure, I'd say he's top 5 for sure, but I think Phil Jackson's pretty untouched as the number 1 for what he did with the Bulls. You know, the way that, you know, 6 rings, 2 3-3s, and then he also got a 3-peat with the Lakers. I don't know. That's really toppable at this point in time. I think Greg Popovich is definitely in there as well, just for keeping the Spurs a consistently good team. 5 rings in 20 years.
Yeah.
But Eric Spoelstra, definitely top 5. But you know, who knows? Well, if he wins this year, wins another, and he wins 2 other, he's young. He's not super old.
No, 100%.
He plays. If he's coached for as long as Greg Popovich is, you know, he made another 6 rings. We don't know, but he did win with very good teams at the same time as well. And I just don't think this Miami team really has it in him to win a lot of championships in the next few seasons. I might be surprised.
I just think it has lots of got to be said about this playoff run. You said they looked like a very average team throughout the year. They're the most up and down team, I think, out east, to be honest. They had great games and then really poor games. But I just think the job he's done, I guess the culture he's built at Miami is just something I really like. Again, like probably not as great as Mr. Phil Jackson used to be, but enough can be said about the teams he coached. He coached Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, so some serious names in there as well. But definitely the amount he's gotten out of this Miami team's got to be spoken about.
Yeah, because it's hard, like, if we're talking about, there's always a discussion about, like, greatest and best. Yeah. There's always a bit of a delineation there because people say, you know, it's probably a conversation another day, but people go, Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time because of how perfect his resume was, but LeBron is the best because he does more things at a higher level or whatever. But that people say that, you know, it's up for debate. But you know, it could be something like that. Eric Spoelstra, you know, he's doing more with less right now, and I think with Phil Jackson, you know, he did great stuff for those teams, but those teams were ridiculously good. It would have been hard to lose in those situations. 100%. So I don't know.
It's an argument for an off-season argument.
Yeah,
sounds like.
for sure.
I guess on the ultra side of things, obviously Joe Mazzulla coming out, a bit of fire was starting him, especially at the 3-0 point in time. So at that point in time, I thought, it looks pretty right in the wall. Looks all over for Joe Mazzulla. You're thinking about Ime Udoka, didn't bring him back. Obviously, didn't stay patient and bring him back at the end of the season. But ended up coming back to level it up 3-3, and I guess Jason Tatum sort of cost them in a way inadvertently with his ankle in Game 7. I guess my question is, do you reckon Joe Mazzulla deserves a blame this series, or should it go on the likes of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, the likes for not being able to pull through the Game 7 situation?
Right, it's back on the coaches again. Well, look, I think Joe Mazzulla has done some pretty suspect coaching.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was, I can't remember what game it was, but one of the games in the playoffs, he had 2 potentials to call a timeout.
Yeah, just missed him.
He didn't even do it at all.
Yeah.
And at the end, he was like, probably should learn from that. It's like, well, I think if you've got 2 timeouts, there's 30 seconds to go, there's kind of 2 possessions here, you should be calling a timeout. Especially when, and, younger coach as well. I don't know. It's always hard.
Yeah.
Coaches aren't playing, but at the same time, in terms of the amount of talent that's on that team and for him to underperform like that, like it's probably the deepest and most well-constructed team barring the Nuggets in the NBA in terms of just everything. And there's definitely some offensive question marks with that team. Yeah. The defense is always good, but the offense is so predictable and just it almost looks a bit straight bally at times.
You saw that, like the zone offense for the Heat, zone defense for the Heat absolutely kicked and killed their offense. Like you saw there was no penetration, there was no ability to hit the three. Like we saw how up and down they were with the 3-point.
Like hero ball. It looks like a hero ball.
It does at times. And when you've got like a zone defense and you've got Robinson on there who's basically not even present on the defensive end, how you can't score a basketball is it's suspect. I think a lot's got to be said about how they move forward. Obviously, it's a great learning experience, but with this Celtics team, like you said, it's at a point now where it's teetering, where it could all be blown up and go in a new direction with a Dame, or do they stay with this core? But I think a lot's got to be said about the way they went about it.
Yeah, but Brad Stevens coming back. Sorry, no, not he's coming back. Brad Stevens said Joe Mazzulla's coming back. So he's coming back for next season.
Interesting to see the way they're going forward. Because I feel like the players, in a way, let him down. He tried his best. Second half of that series, he made more adjustments. He was definitely calling
a lot of pressure on him, particularly for a young coach as well. So
definitely interesting to see how they go forward. Moving obviously now NBA Finals. Bit of a preview. We've done you've done very well with all the previews so far. You basically nailed most calls. Obviously the Nuggets, we've talked a lot about them on this show, how good we think they are and how deep they are against probably not as strong of a Miami team. But I keep going on here, keep predicting against them. They keep proving me wrong. So I'm going to be a bit more impartial this time. But obviously the Heat are the massive underdogs. I think the stat came out today, Jokic is one of the highest favourites to get an NBA Finals MVP of all time. It's a lot pushing the way of the Nuggets off the one today quite convincingly. How do you see this contest going?
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, Heat fans. I think the Cinderella story is over. Nikola Jokic is just insane. Yeah. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. We have not seen a player like this man before. And there's so many sort of topics to talk about with this bloke. But he makes the right play every single time.
Yeah,
like it is ridiculous, right? Today, the game today, they were hacking him. They were just throwing hands at him. He shot 12 free throws, so half as many a little over half the free throws they took. I think it was 23 throws today, and he took 12 of them. And they were hacking him. He took 3 shots in the first half and made every single one, but had 10 assists.
Yeah, remarkable.
Like, he's like, you can't. We talked about this before, but you can't double him because he's going to get assists.
He'll pass the
right?
ball.
He only makes shots he thinks that he can make. He had more assists today than shot attempts.
Remarkable.
He shot 75% from the field, 8 for 12. It's just insane, and the Heat can't answer that. And Bam Adebayo did a solid job, but and the Heat role players, they stunk it up today. Whoa.
That's a big thing to be said about that. But I guess on Jokic, 14 assists, the highest ever by a first game, I guess a player's first game in NBA Finals history. But you're right, it's almost like a 3-headed snack. You cut off one head, you got 2 other heads. You got the rebounding, the passing. You stop his passing, then he's going to put 30, 40 on you. He's just unstoppable at the moment, and it just feels like no matter what you do, no matter how you're going to try it, someone's going to beat you in this team. Like, if it's not him, it's Jamal Murray's going to hit a few shots. The game 4 into Lakers, it's Aaron Gordon dropping 20 points. Like,
he's huge.
It just seems like this team, it's so well built, but it's all around this guy Jokic, and Jokic leads them. He controls the pace, he rebounds the basketball, quick outlet, he gets them running. He is, and today he just stood out. He was remarkable, and the Heat tried, but you can't stop it. I just don't see a way you can stop him and win a game of basketball, because if you stop him, someone else is going to score the basketball.
Jamal Murray as well. Killed it today.
Remarkable. He just keeps getting better and better and better.
And another thing as well, it's been a bit of a topic of conversation, has been like with the Nuggets, right? It's always been a concern. People go, oh, Jokic can't play defense, and like he's, not, you can't build a team around him because he doesn't provide an interior presence on defensively. But the team defense has been really good.
Right.
Like, you've got a bunch of players that are very like sort of long. Like, we've got KCP. Michael Jr., when he tries, is actually quite a good defender. Bruce Bowen as well. They're quite active, and like it's almost like textbook. You watch them move around, and they do the stuff that the European coaches tell you at school. Move, and it's like that kind of, they move as like a group of 5. They're kind of shifting it's like this. Because you put a really good rim finisher on Jokic, and he doesn't have a lot of hope. But when the help defense is there, there's just constant ball pressure.
There, it's
suffocating for other teams, and I think that's what we saw with the Heat. No one could hit shots because there was so much, almost like a man-on-man zone kind of thing. It was very unusual to watch.
Yeah, it almost looks like like watching it should be tiring. You look at it like these guys are putting so much effort on the defensive end, but I think we keep talking about how much they've been together, how long they've worked together. It just feels like it seems effortless the way they defend. Like, it seems like teams cannot break them down, but they're finding it so easy to do. I think that's just something that has to, like, they're coaching. Malone's done a great job as a coach this year, and the playoff coach of the year, I guess, would have to go to him, the way he structured that team up.
100%.
And you're right, like, their defense, no matter what happens, there's always someone there either guarding the paint if Jokic is extended out into the 3-point line, or there's someone taking a charge, or it's Aaron Gordon, who I'll talk about in a little bit. His defense out this past been remarkable. His
on-ball defense has been insane.
The ball denial on this team is, and it's impossible to shoot the basketball. Sort of like these role players have been on fire. Came to a massive halt.
So I suppose they've just come back down to earth. At the end of the day, these players a lot of them were undrafted. As much as it's been a cool story, I don't think Max Strus has got it in to continue what he's been doing, and Caleb Martin, etc. But
a big job ahead of them.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I'll probably follow, that it's going to have to be the role players for the Heat to stand up, right?
Yeah, we talked about that. It has to be the role players.
To be,
if they go crazy, they'll win games.
Because it seemed that Celtics series, every time one of them would stand up, they'd get a good result. Because I don't know if it's Jimmy's getting tired or that ankle is still a bit of a problem, but he seems not as aggressive, a bit passive at times. Obviously, Game 7 was great. He wasn't stopping. He was being quick. He was getting to the paint, and then when Jimmy's at his best, he's being aggressive. He's not standing still. He's not pivoting. Sure. He's getting right into the paint. But it seems at times, especially at the Celtics series in the back end, and then a little bit today to a lesser extent. Obviously, the defense did a great job, but Jimmy's a little bit more passive. So he needs someone else to help him out. And with those guys, it was Strus and Vince, I think, shot one.
Gabe Vincent.
They're kind of one from like 24.
Oh, yeah. Max Strus didn't hit a shot, I believe. Yeah. He was like, 0 for 7 from 3.
They really struggled.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's the Nuggets are kind of exposing the weaknesses within the Heat. Like a huge thing. Sorry, they were 26th in net rating in the regular season, which is terrible. Like that's awful. Yeah, and it's the offense was 29th, I believe, something like that. And it's just their half-court offense is terrible. Yeah, it's just they don't have just good form on offense. They're really relying on a bunch of role players hitting threes or Jimmy Butler dropping 30. So that's being exposed right now. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons, really. Consistent offensive weapons.
And I guess before we make our final preview, a quick shout out to go to Aaron Gordon because he's done a big job on Jimmy Butler in this series. Yeah. Started this game one very well. This first game did very well on Jimmy. A great job in the last series. LeBron, obviously, a part of that block right at the end there. He's going to have to be massive in this series if the Nuggets are going to go well. But every series he keeps showing everyone how good he is. And I loved him from that move as soon as he went there to the Nuggets. And it seems to be going strength to strength in this playoffs. And he looks like a guy that could change a series for me. So here, with all that being said, what are we thinking? How are we going to preview this series?
Oh. I'm going to say Nuggets in 5.
Nuggets in
5. They're just a better team, man. I just don't think the Heat really had the answers. And today we saw it was pretty terrible from the Heat. But look, I'm thinking the first 2 games will go to Denver. They don't lose at home.
No.
Jimmy Butler will go ape because he doesn't want to go down 3-0.
Yeah.
And then Nuggets will seal the deal in the last 2 games, I think. Well, what do you think?
I'm going similar. I'm going in 6.
I thought you'd say 6.
I just feel like the Heat they'll win those 2 home games, I feel like. Or if not that, like you said, Jimmy will be angry and win one of them at least. You've got one Jimmy 40 sort of point game in this series.
That's true.
And I'm hoping another game where Bam or the role players are saying something else. I'd like to see it go 6 just to watch basketball because I like to watch it.
It goes 5 or 6 for sure. That's definitely...
You're right. It's
6
just
is a safe
the depth is so much better for the Nuggets. And I guess it depends when Tyler here, if he comes back or how well he comes back, because that could help out the Heat.
For sure.
But you look at the bench for the Nuggets and some of them could be starting for the Heat. There's only so much I think Eric Spoelstra can do with a bunch of guys he played street ball a few weeks ago. That won't be that harsh. No. They've done a great job in this place.
Cool.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be a tough series for the Heat, but I keep rolling against the Heat and they keep proving me wrong. So I'd be glad to be proved wrong because what a Cinderella story that one will be. And just finish up the show. Obviously, a few coaches rolling around. We talked a bit about it a few weeks back. Nick Nurse has landed at the Sixers and Monty Williams, a massive deal to go to Detroit.
Secured the bag.
How do you think those all lined up, those coaching jobs?
Monty Williams, great stuff, brother.
That a job.
Absolutely. I don't know. I wouldn't say fleeced because I think he's a good coach, but, he went, I want to get the money. I don't care what team I coach. And, Detroit's a pretty grim city.
Yeah.
They've, but, at the same time, Monty Williams, honestly, very good coach. He seems like he's got a really good rapport with his teammates and stuff like that. Highest paid coach yearly in NBA history at $12 million a year, against 11.5 what Greg Popovich gets, which is insane.
Michael,
but he can do some good things. You've got Cade over there. We've got Killian Hayes, my guy, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren. There's some good players there that he could do something with. Yeah, and it takes away. You just don't want to be in Phoenix as a coach, to be honest with you, just with how dysfunctional they've been recently. Yeah. So I think it's good that he's out of there.
Well, it's exciting a project, right? I think for him, it's
no pressure at all. Just
no
bit
pressure.
Of fun.
There's money on the line. There's money there for you.
Sounds fantastic to me.
It's a free shot, and with young guys,
no expectations either.
It could be amazing. You could go down one of the greatest coaches, or if it doesn't work out,
whatever.
It's young guys there that the project never really works. So I think here's a win-win for him, and hopefully for the league state Detroit, get back to where they should be in a few years' time, because it'd be exciting to see that young team go through. But yeah, I think, like you said, he secured the bag and he's the winner of this situation, 100%. And then Nick Nurse landed at the Sixers. I thought he'd be in Phoenix, to be honest.
So did I.
But I guess talk about dysfunctional clubs, so 2 dysfunctional franchises at the moment. Mm-hmm. And Incy this morning in the press conference, he was asked about James Harden and he looked visibly uncomfortable trying to answer questions about if James Harden was going to stay or not. So I guess it's looking like James Harden's out the door there at the Sixers. And that does lead them to one hand behind their back, because him just walking out is going to be tough.
And they say, I saw a rumor. They were like, oh, Philly's going to get Fred VanVleet to replace Harden. Fred VanVleet, bro. Are you serious? Man, I seriously like him as a player, but he is not on the caliber of James Harden.
Yeah.
Dude's shorter than me. Like, I like him, but I just think that's real. I saw that and went, okay, these guys are in real trouble in the future.
Technically, that is the realistic option, though, because
well,
the money situation, I was going over it a few weeks ago and keep looking at it, and the money is not going to work out. So something's have to hit. It's either going to be another superstar comes and everyone else goes, or you keep that same sort of role play core and you're going to have to get another sort of mid-tier player. So the Sixers, I think Nick Nurse is in for a bit of a project himself. Obviously, they'll still be good next year. They've got the MVP on their team.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they're going to work that all out to try and accommodate to Embiid for Nick Nurse to sort of get his system in there, get his culture set up and built in there. But a lot of pressure. There's always a lot of pressure when you're in Philly. It's a sport-loving place. So if he makes a few mistakes here, there's a lot of pressure me falling his way.
Yeah, well, I think just one thing quickly as well. I think if we can see him engage Tyrese Maxey more in the offense, I think that would be huge for Philly. I'm a big fan of Tyrese Maxey. A
lot riding on him to just produce, I guess. If James is walking out the door.
Yeah, there you go, mate. Here's the ball. Do your thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that could be cool to see.
100%. Obviously, a few roles still out there. Obviously, the Bucks job's still out there. Doc Rivers still sort of circulating. Does he get another job again? I don't know how that works out. But they replace a doctor with a nurse. So there you go. There you go. That's about it for this week. Yeah, obviously the NBA Finals will come to the end soon. We'll probably rehash a lot of what's gone on there, and then in the off season have a bit of fun about some tier lists or the like, or just ranking how the season's gone. But really excited for these next few games in the finals. A quieter week on the NBA front, but I'm sure free agency and coaches will be flying around in no time.
100%.
So more to talk about very, very soon. Thanks for coming on again, man. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Preston.
Perfect. And I'll see you guys very soon.